Hi, it's Michael. To understand how labor strikes, labor disputes arise, how they progress, and how they resolve or not, in principle, not in detail, in principle, it is extremely important to understand energy fields, energy patterns, group egos, and unaware life. All this will be discussed very shortly. So first, energy fields. Everything in existence arises out of consciousness. Within consciousness can be said there are energy fields, and within the energy fields form energy patterns. These energy patterns and energy fields give rise to the physical things that we can detect with our physical senses. Not only things, but also people, companies, ideas, weather patterns, and so on. These energy fields and patterns have a certain energy level that can be calibrated, as Dr. David Hawkins has shown and explained very well in his talks. These levels can be called, for brevity, in this low energy level and high energy level and anything in between. Low energy level is the same as saying low positivity, and high energy level is the same as saying high positivity. So, for example, Jesus Christ was a very high energy level being, very high, and a dictator such as Adolf Hitler was a very low energy field or pattern or being, so quite negative, quite low energy. So both a company and its union emerge out of a specific energy level. The lower the energy level is, the lower positivity the company and the union will be, and the more it will limit their options, it will limit their profitability, it will limit their ability to come to a satisfactory compromise, to agree on things. So if the energy level is here, let's say this is a very high energy level and this is a low energy level. Let's say the company energy level is here. So the company emerges as a pattern out of the energy field here, and the union will automatically be its mirror image on the other side of the road, so to speak, here. So in practical speaking, the low energy of the company would manifest as the top management being cold and distant and not caring about the employees. The union will automatically reflect that energy level and will be cold, distant toward the employer and not caring about the employer, even to the point of having the employer go broke if it gets so far. The union doesn't care because it reflects the attitude of the company. At a very higher energy level, the employer is warmer, is engaged with the employees, actually cares about the line workers, talks to the line workers, engages them in a positive way. Well, the union will reflect that and will be more flexible towards the employer, will actually to some degree care if the employer makes profit or not, and will try to cooperate with the employer, a mirror image of the employer's attitude. Now, if the employer is at an extremely high level, then the positivity is so strong that even the union pattern may not come into manifestation at all. So please remember, there is no blame, no fault, no finger pointing. It is all an automatic emergence from the energy field that represents both entities. And when we live unaware lives, we get stuck in self-reinforcing loops, in energy patterns. I have a talk about self-reinforcing loops, and basically they are patterns that reinforce themselves automatically. It's like a tornado. Tornado starts spinning, it reinforces itself, and if something tries to enter the tornado, then it is thrown out, it is rejected. So it is with self-reinforcing patterns. The lower the energy level is, the stronger the self-reinforcing patterns are, and the higher the energy level is, the weaker the self-reinforcing patterns are, to the point where they cannot self-reinforce themselves. And here the unaware life comes in. When we live life unaware, we tend to fall into lower energy patterns, and out of it arise problems such as not the management not really involving the employees, being too detached, and then a mirror image of it, the union not caring about the business of the company and even willing to make it go broke rather than compromise. Automatic emergence out of it. So if we would live our lives aware, at least most of the time, we would see the absurdity of treating people with a cold shoulder, of not caring about people, and we would see the absurdity of unions, of trying to be against the employer. It could not exist because it's just an absurdity. Of course, it makes some kind of a physical sense at the low energy level, because there is barking from one side, so a protection comes from the other side, and vice versa. But when a high positivity is introduced, this barking cannot really exist. It's viewed as absurd, and there is no need for it. So here comes when a labor strike is trying to be resolved. When a mediator is appointed, and usually mediators are appointed usually by the government, it depends on a lot depends on the positivity of the mediator. If the mediator is close to the energy level of the battling sides of the company and the union, the chance of coming to a compromise is very slim to nil, because it's the same energy level or similar. It's the same or similar energy field, and the sameness cannot resolve the sameness. It's impossible. What can resolve it is a higher power, a higher energy. So if the government, by lucky chance, hires a very positive mediator, that positive mediator has enough automatic knowledge or automatic intuition, has enough light to bring to the table, that he or she can help both sides see the light, see a higher ground, which is impossible with a lower energy mediator. So what is a chance of the government, which is a lower energy entity, hiring a high energy mediator? It can happen, it certainly can happen, but energy like tends to go to like. So lower energy usually tends to go to lower energy. Not necessarily, but usually it does. So the way to get out of labor disputes is to up the positivity of the game. The way to get out of labor disputes is not by force. It's impossible. It doesn't go anywhere. Even if force, such as legislating the employees back to work, would work temporarily, in the long term it resolves nothing. The only way to positively resolve it is to up-energize the whole field. And who can up-energize the whole field? Can the union do it? Usually not. Usually the responsibility would fall on the employer, and it could happen if the person in charge, such as the president, CEO, or chairman of the board, so would tend to be a very high energy person that would be able then to start trickling down the positive energy to the lower levels and uplift the whole energy level of the whole sea. As Dr. David Hawkins was saying, when you uplift the sea, you raise all the ships in the sea. Now, what is the chance of a low energy company hiring a high energy CEO or president? Not very high, because like attracts like. Low energy company will tend to look for a executive that falls within the specifications of the company. It's automatic. There is nobody to blame for it. It's an automatic consequence of the energy pattern that the company is. And if the company would attract a higher energy CEO for some fortunate, blessed reason, then the CEO will be faced with two scenarios. Either he will be forced to mold to the company's mold and take over the company's attitudes and policies, or if he would try to implement his positive visions, his positive idea, he would be met with so much resistance that he would very likely quit. Now, sometimes a fortunate thing happens and the positive CEO manages to inspire even quite a low stuck entity, legal entity, to uplift. And we can see that in the example of the Soviet Union and Mikhail Gorbachev. Mikhail Gorbachev, the last General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, calibrated very high, and he was able to uplift the Soviet Union out of the deep energy abyss it was in, at least sufficiently enough for communism to crumble, to come to an end. So it is possible, but it is extremely rare. So now we can understand how energy field, energy patterns form and reinforce themselves, and that the only way out of it is through positivity, not through force, not through hammering the other side, not through us versus them, but through together, through cooperation, through positivity. Because cooperation, positivity represents the divine attributes. But barking at each other like dogs, be fighting each other, is contrary to the divine attributes, and thus it can never result in a positive outcome in the long run. And that's it for this talk. If there are any questions or comments, they can be left below the video. Wishing you a healthy and joyful life. Michael out.